the blueprint. Sipping rage and youthful exuberance. Everybody loves the root for a nuisance. Hit the earth like an asteroid, did nothing but you got that line too. I'm thinking you fraudulent. Inject that collagen from your heart to your car.
Pull up, diamond Billy shining with the bangles out.
Shalom, Kohalayim La, Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakakodash. Peace to the election, brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, nearby and scattered abroad. Peace, love, and blessings. Yahweh's the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God, whose name means He is or He exists. Ba'Hashem means in the name. And Yahweh Shai is the name of the Son, who the world calls Jesus Christ, whose name means He deliverer or He salvation. All right. Chaya here back with another video through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai. And this article popped up on my phone. Well, I was actually scrolling through my my news app, and I saw this article that came out yesterday. It says Paul Wall says he didn't realize he was white until classmates pointed it out. Now, I did a video, just a short video on my other page, Fortress of Peace. Now, my first original page, discussing just very briefly, or, just re-recording a video of Yellow Wolf. He was in an interview, and he was talking about how, he was talking about the red lettering tattoo on his neck. All right, he has a tattoo that says red. All right, like meaning red neck, and he was basically going into how he's actually Native American, which I believe he is. All right, he's a Gadite, so-called Native American. Okay, and he said, he took on the title of redneck because that's what the people called him. That's not who he is, but that's what the people called him. That's what you said. He said, that's what you said I am. You said I'm white. You said I'm a redneck. You said I'm a cracker, and so on and so forth and so on. So that's what he was saying in the clip. But this topic is about Paul Wall. And, he was telling, the Breakfast Club that he didn't realize he was quote unquote, white man until I think he said middle school. But let's go over it real quick, right? Now, this is right here. If you're not familiar with Paul Wall, this is the Still Tippin' rapper and also the Grills rapper, amongst many other songs and things of that nature. He's been in the game for a long time now. And I mean, I never really listened to, too much rap and so forth and so on. But if you grew up in the early 2000s, you know what Still Tippin' is, or you know what Grills is. You know Paul Wall. Okay, so he's been in the game for a while. All right, so let me see. We're just going to start right here. Of course, I'm not going to read the whole article, but we're going to start right here. It says, quote, "I didn't know I was white till white people told me I was white," said the people's chant with a bashful smirk on his face. They was like, "You white. Why you talking act like that?" Because if you know Paul Wall, you know his dialect, in the manner in which he speaks, all right, which is, quote unquote, Ebonics, which the word Ebonics comes from the word ebony, which means black. Okay, there's no such thing as an Ebonics language, but for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to use it. All right, so Paul Wall speaks, Ebonics. He speaks like a quote unquote black dude. It says, they was like, "You white. Why you talking act like that? You white." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Co-host Just Hilarious then asked when he did finally realize that he was indeed white. "Definitely in elementary school or middle school," Wall answered. "I mean, all my friends were black or Mexican or Asian. I lived in a very diverse neighborhood. There were white people there, but it was Mexican, black, Vietnamese, Indian, a lot of everything. So we got a great mixture of growing up in America, I guess. Yeah, because America's a melting pot. Okay, America is also the place where you're going to find the majority of the prophets. Okay, which are going to look like people from different nations. Because Paul Wall, even growing up, man, just same thing with Mariah Carey and a few others, Eminem. You know that they got soul, man. They got soul. All right. Even being the youth listening to, the songs like I mentioned earlier, like the Still Tippin' and the Girls, I'm like, yo, he got mad flavor, man. And when you look at him, Like if you listen to Paul Wall without seeing him on video, you would probably think, he's either black or Mexican or whatever the case. You didn't really care about how he looked. You just knew he could spit, he could float, he got soul. Okay? Even with this, I think this is a more recent picture and stuff like that. But even like look at his whole demeanor, man. He's a Jake, bro. Okay? And what, as the scriptures say, we would be scattered, but I'm gonna get into that in a second. All right. It says he then jokingly pointed out that his mother took a DNA test and said she was 3% African before adding, "I know she can't say the N-word. That ain't enough for her to say the N-word." Was your couple laughs from the room. All right. So one thing that I wanted to point out, of course, as usual, that the nationality of the child is not determined by the mother, but rather the father. Okay, because when you look up the word husband, as a matter of fact, let's do that. It means planter. Husband etymology. Let me see. Was it husband or was it? No, hold up. I believe it was husband. Let me see. All right, so husband, Old English, husbanda, male head of a household, master of a house, householder. Then it says house dweller. Okay, then it says to be, to exist, to grow. Compare bond. I forgot what word it was, but if I'm not mistaken, the word husband also means planter. It says to dwell. Well, we're just gonna use the definition to where it says to grow, to be, exist, or grow. Okay, and it comes from this right here, the root bu. All right, to be, exist, or to grow. Okay, so the word husband, which, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, another definition means planter. Was it husbandmen? And then he was. So the word husband means to grow, and like I said, in another definition, it means planter. Okay, so the man is essentially the one that plants the seed inside of the woman, and that thus determines the nationality of the child. Now, where genetics play a part in basically everybody and things of that nature is of course you're going to get complexion and blood work from the mother as well too. Okay, but the seed, all right, the nationality of the child is essentially from the father, so it doesn't matter what color skin the child has when the child grows up. Okay, it's not about skin color, it's about nationality, it's about bloodline. All right, it's about the seed of the father. And when you go to the book, I'm gonna hold that. When you go to the book of Numbers, Bama Dabar, Numbers chapter 1, verse 18, it says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls." Okay? So the point is, it says the men, okay, that were preparing to go to war in Israel, okay, they were counted by the house of their fathers. All right, everything was accounted for by the house of their fathers. All right, it doesn't say mothers, okay, because if a woman was able to determine the nationality of the child and have the child, then there would be no reason for a man. Okay, so that kills the whole notion that the woman determines the nationality of the child. Okay, the woman just incubates the child. But proceeding on, All right, it doesn't matter that his mother is 3% African or whatever the case, because his nationality is only determined by his father. Okay, and I did a little bit more research to see if I could find anything on his father. Okay, and this article came up. Rapper Paul Wall claims his biological father was a serial child molester. Shameful. It says the artist addressed his father's dark past and how it inspires him to be a strong father for his kids today. So it says, like I said, I just want to get to the point. All right, so quote, it says, he left us when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I never knew what happened. Other than my mom would always have me and my sister paranoid that we were about to get kidnapped, he recalled. Now, I do want to say, matter of fact, let me read on. I want to say something about that, right? It says, Wall told host Fuzzy, known as the Connector, and Quincy Harris that over the years he learned several disturbing things, claiming his dad was abusive and a drug addict, okay, which, that's pretty much the typical Jake Israelite household. All right, parents are drug addicts, one is there, the other is abide. Now, the other abides, okay, but they can't manage everything on their own. That's the typical Israelite household, unfortunately. But that goes back to the curses, which I'm going to get into. It says later on in life, let's see. Yeah, it says later on in life, I asked my mom one day, like, whatever happened to him. That's when I found out horrible things. He said on the show, man, I can't believe this stuff. My biological father, he was a child molester, a serial child molester. He ended up kidnapping a girl he started a relationship with. He started a relationship with her when she was 12 or 13 years old, Wall claimed. Then, when she became 14 or 15, he married her and they went to Canada, and that's the last I seen him. Okay, so just a few things involved in this, all right? So let's start with what the mother said, right? Because whether his mother's an Israelite or so-called white woman, it doesn't matter. The point is, typically women or single mothers, we'll just use that term for the sake of argument. What single mothers, what better single baby mothers will do, to children, they'll manipulate the children into believing that the man was actually that the father of the child was actually a bad man. But in this case, it sounds like Paul Wall's father was actually a bad man. Okay, he was a drug addict and he was abusive. Okay, so for the sake of argument, yes, he was a bad man. All right, so and what these bitter baby mamas will do, they'll start telling the child these horrible things about the father, which a lot of those aren't true. Okay, but once again, for the sake of argument, let's say all of those things about Paul Wall's father being abusive and a drug addict actually is, true to itself. All right, but one thing I wanted to point out, and this is what really made me, believe that, believe even more that Paul Wall's father is an Israelite, okay, because I believe Paul Wall is an Israelite. Okay, look at this right here, okay, and for those of you who know the scriptures, you already know what I'm about to say. But it says he ended up kidnapping a girl. He started a relationship with her when she was 12 or 13 years old, Wall claimed. Then when she became 14 or 15, he married her and they went to Canada, and that's the last I seen him. So we all, for the most part, are familiar about the scriptures in Deuteronomy, the 22nd chapter, okay? And we're all familiar when a young woman, a girl is, transitioning into, womanhood, okay? And that happens around ages, 12 or 13 years old, okay? So that's when a woman is biologically be able to be married off and bear children. Now, the way that this was going about is actually scriptural. Okay, so when I was reading, I was like, oh, wow, that's in the scripture. Now, as far as the kidnapping, back in the ancient world, you had to address, a woman's father and work for him for a number of years in order to obtain his daughter. Okay, so if Paul Wall's father really, or given the possibility that Paul Wall's father kidnapped this young girl, well, that's going against the scriptures, because that would essentially be a sexual misconduct and things of that nature. Okay, all of that is in Deuteronomy, the 22nd chapter. All right, All right, if you're a man of the Lord, you already know we're not supposed to, or ravishing a woman, holding a woman against her will is against the scriptures. Okay? But all it says was he started a relationship with her, so it doesn't say anything about sex, okay, or rape. It just says kidnapped. Okay, so this man took it upon himself. Paul Wall's father, I'm talking about, took it upon himself to take this young woman and start a relationship with her. Okay, but everything outside of that is actually scriptural and things of that nature. Okay, so it says, then when she became 14 or 15, he married her and he went to Canada, and that's the last I seen him. So the way he went about it for the most part was actually scriptural. Okay, and what you'll find is that a lot of Northern Kingdom, okay, so-called Hispanics and Native Americans, a lot of them still hold true to these customs. Okay, unfortunately, a good amount of them are actually child molesters and things of that nature. But when you go to Central and South America, you'll see that you do have grown men still marrying, you know, younger women, about 13, 14, 15 years old. Okay, but that's just the custom that we actually have from the ancient world. Okay, that's the custom. Now, if a man wanted to marry his daughter off at around 13, 14, 15 years old, he was able to do that, or he could do that. Okay, if a man wanted to marry his daughter off around that age, even though yes, it is young, he was able to do that. Okay, and then what? You as a man about to marry that young woman, you had to pay a dowry and so forth and so on. Okay, but marriageable age is about 13, 14, 15 years old. Okay, that's why in the scriptures you're not going to find a set age on a woman being married, except what? She's past the flower of her age. Talking about when she gets her menstrual cycle. Okay, when she starts having periods and so forth and so on, so forth and so on. Okay, so that was really the point on that. So I just thought that was very interesting, and that led me to this article as well too, because I wanted to see what the people had to say. I found this thread on Reddit because I had looked up, is Paul Wall Mexican? And the reason why I looked that up is because a brother I was watching some odd years back actually said that Paul Wall, comes from the tribe of Issachar. Okay, now even though there's not any information on Google to prove that per se, okay, after reading that article about Paul Wall's father and the way he conducted himself with that young woman and stuff like that, led me to believe that he could have been an Issacharite, a so-called Mexican. So somebody said thoughts on Paul Wall, and he said, when I was a kid, I thought Paul Wall was a poser, assuming he was a bad rapper solely because he was white, and there could only be one white guy, Eminem. But I didn't know anything back then as a dumb 8-year-old. The People's Champ is jam-packed with bangers, and the guests are great too. Could probably cut it down by 2 or 3 tracks, but this thing stays highly listenable. Paul just wants to chill and talk about his grills and wheels. What are your guys' thoughts on Paul Wall? Would love to hear from old heads that witnessed his come up. How was he viewed in the overall culture outside of Houston? Because that's where Paul Wall is originally from, Houston, Texas. Okay, and Texas being right next to Mexico, it wouldn't be far-fetched if Paul Wall was actually a so-called Mexican. It wouldn't be far-fetched, Let me see, because I don't want to read all of these. Yeah, it's in this first part right here. Okay. It says, I was a fan of Paul Wall before I even knew he was white. I'm not the only one. He had a bunch of underground Michael Watt songs, mixtapes, and a whole album with Chamillionaire, or Chamillionaire, however you pronounce that, but the Trying to Catch Me Riding, there, that guy. That was a banger before he ever had a music video on BET or MTV. At the time, I wasn't really on the internet, so when the Still Tippin' music video came out, I was blown away that he was a white dude. Yeah, because if you listen to him without any visuals, you would think that he's either, black or Mexican. Okay? It says a lot of people were saying rumors that he was really mixed or Mexican, but we found out later, no, he's really white. And that's all I'm going to read on that. Okay, so the truth is, we don't know what tribe Paul Wall comes from, but he's definitely an Israelite, man. He fits in with the culture, too well. He fits in with the culture very well. He's not a poser. Okay. He's from Houston, Texas. He grew up in a rough environment. He didn't have the best relationship with his father, which once again is, typical Israelites. All right. That's pretty much our story. Now, this is not to say that Esau, Edom, so-called white people, have it together as a whole, because you got your trailer park trash, they do, have abusive environments and things of that nature as well too. Okay, but considering Paul Wall's dedication to hip hop in the quote unquote black culture and things of that nature, to hip hop culture in general, okay, and his dialect and the way he conducts himself, Paul Wall is an Israelite, man. Okay. Also, this as well too. Let me see. That Mexican OT, Johnny Dang. All right, this song came out a year ago. Well, the video came out a year ago. All right, and you got this guy, that Mexican OT. The song is called Johnny Dang, and it's featuring Paul Wall and Jordy. All of these individuals are Israelites. I'm not gonna play the video. I just want to. I'm not gonna play the whole video, I should say, but that's Johnny Dang. Johnny Dang, if you don't know Johnny Dang, he's a Vietnamese jeweler. Could be a Jake, could just be a heathen selling jewelry to Jake and stuff like that. But the guy, excuse me. All right, that's this guy right here, that Mexican OT. So he's an Issacharite, that raps, man. Okay, and then Paul Wall, shows up later on in the video. Okay, and these two, if I'm being perfectly honest, they look very similar, man. All right, they look that Mexican OT and Paul Wall, they look and they sound very similar. Okay, so it's all about the spirit, man. All right, it's all about the spirit. Okay, let me go ahead and get this in the book of Daniel, chapter 9. Verse 7, and I'm actually going to read it in the NLT, in the New Living Translation. It says, Lord, you are in the right, but as you see, our faces are covered with shame. Okay, so when you see confusion of faces in the KJV, that word confusion just simply means shame. Okay, so this is not talking about Israelite foreigners as a whole, as I learned growing up. Okay, the word confusion just simply means shame. Okay, so it says our faces are covered with shame. This is true of us. Oh, it says this is true of all of us, including the people of Judah and Jerusalem and all Israel. Okay, because there was a separation between, southern kingdom and northern kingdom. Okay, so that's why it says, or you're going to research in scripture that says Judah and Jerusalem, or Judah and Israel. Okay, this says in all Israel, scattered near and far, wherever you have driven us because of our disloyalty to you. Okay, so a part of Paul Wall not knowing his own nationality and being told that he was actually white, okay, by his classmates in elementary and middle school. All right, that's a part of that's shameful, okay, because he doesn't know his history. But it's the same thing for all of us. We don't know where we come from. We just know that we're children of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Talking about the brothers that push this truth that may look like so-called white men, or so-called Asians and so forth and so on. Okay, the truth is we're Israelites, man. All right, so we were scattered. Going back to the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, we were scattered. All right, because of a punishment. All right, because of our disobedience. All right, so us being scattered is a punishment due to our disobedience and our disloyalty to the Heavenly Father. Verse 8, it says, O Lord, we and our kings, princes, and ancestors are covered with shame because we have sinned against you. But the Lord our God is merciful and forgiving, even though we have rebelled against him. Okay, so Paul Wall's father, you know, being a quote unquote serial, child molester and things of that nature. Okay, that too is shameful. All right, so because what we have a shameful history. All right, committing atrocities toward the Heavenly Father. So us not knowing who we were, that was a shame unto us, man. All right, this is why we got to search far and wide to find the elect, because that's who it starts with. That's who matters. The elect of the nation of Israel matters. Okay, so when we do these videos talking about, individuals like Paul Wall and Eminem and Yellow Wolf and Mariah Carey and, is in Israelites in Asia and so forth and so on, we're basically telling you that our people are all over the place. Okay, we're everywhere. All right. Let me get this. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, a brother had brought this out last night during Bible study. Okay. Ezekiel 36, what do I want to start at? I'll start at 17. Ezekiel 36 and 17, it says, Son of man, I'm going to read it in the KJV on the left-hand side. It says, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. Okay, because when we read Deuteronomy the 28th, it talks about how the Lord said he was going to scatter us. After the 15th verse, that is, 15 on down. All right, the Lord said he was going to scatter us because of our worshiping of other idols, man. And we would serve other gods. We would serve other gods, wood and stone, that our fathers have not known. Okay? It says, and I scattered them among the heathen. Okay, the heathen is talking about the other nations, like the whites, the Chinese, Japanese, Africans, Arabs, okay, Polynesians, so forth and so on. It says, and I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries, according to their way and according to their doings I judged them. And when they entered unto the heathen, whether they went, they profaned my holy name, when they said to them, these are the people of the Lord and are going forth out of his land. Yeah, because the heathen devoured us up because we was on punishment. It says, but I had pity for mine holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the heathen, whither they went. Okay. So there you go. So the Lord had pity on us for his own name's sake. Okay. The Lord had pity on us for his own name's sake, because he said that he would always redeem us. Okay, so and that's why he sent Yahweh Shah, who the world calls Jesus Christ, to redeem us, man. Because he said that he was always going to do that. He would always be with us. All right. Verse 24, I'm going to just get to the point. Ezekiel 36 and 24 says, for I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. Okay, so this is a promise from the Heavenly Father in the future. All right, the Lord said that he was going to take us from among the heathen and put us in our own land. All right, so we was going to stop, not being able to know our identities and, introduce ourselves with which tribe we came from and things of that nature. We was going to know who we were. We're going to know who we are in the kingdom of heaven. All right, which tribe we come from, our nationality, so forth and so on. All right. It says, then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your, from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. So we're not going to be serving, gods of wood and stone anymore. So the Lord is going to take us from the East Indians, okay, and the Chinese and the Africans and the Polynesians and the Arabs and so forth and so on. All right, from the whites. The Lord is going to take us away from serving all of these other gods, and we're going to serve him once again. Okay. And that was really the point on that, because the rest of it goes into how he's going to put the law, statutes, and the commandments in our minds, all right, in our hearts. Okay, but I just want to do that video right there, man, through the spirit. And just continue to encourage brothers and sisters, all right, especially you brothers who go out there preaching that, being a Hebrew Israelite is not a black thing, man. Okay? And today's or this week's example, is Paul Wall. Once again, he's been in the game for a while, man. All right, so Paul Wall is an Israelite, whether you like it or not, and there's plenty more like him. Lord's willing, this is edifying. Shalom.